Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Read It or Unhaul It. This time, all fantasy edition. I have way too many fantasy books on my shelves. It's time to get rid of a few of them. I hope that I can unhaul a few during this video because I really need to clear these shelves out a little bit. Anyway, I'm not going to waste time with small talk. Let's just get to it, shall we? I'm going to do something a little bit different just for this first pull. Only for the first pull. Calm down. I have just exited a not a book slump. I was really neurological for like the first 6-ish weeks of the year, and then I was gone for a month. So I'm just coming out of what I would call an accidental medically induced book slump. I want to be really stoked about this first book. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull 3 options out of here, and I'm gonna choose one out of those 3. For the rest of the pulls, I'm just gonna pull one and have to read that book. For this one, 3 options that I get to choose from. So I can be excited and wanting to run headfirst into this video. Let's go. So I'm gonna pull whatever the first 3 purple slips are nearest to the top. That's this one. I see that one, and you know what? For the last one, let's spin again, actually. That's what feels right. And so for the third option, this guy. First option is, what does that say, huh? A Court of Silver Flames. I've already read that. So that's going straight into the TBR urn. Goodbye. If this is your first Read It or Unhaul It video that you're watching from me, first of all, you should go watch the other ones. I was really stupid when I made this thing, and instead of just printing off a list of all the books that are on my physical TBR, I actually printed off a list of books that it's just every single book that I own. So there's a lot of books in here that are books that I've already read, so sometimes those come out. So we actually have to pick another book. Let's open the other 2 first, actually, in case we have to pull more than just one. Our technically first option. Oh, Circe. Yeah, another book that I've already read. So TBR urn she goes. Off to a weird start, fellas. How about this one? Have I read you? The Kingdom of Back. No, I haven't. Okay, our first actual option is the Kingdom of Back. I'll grab that in a second. Let's pull 2 more from this jar. You are near to me, and you are near to me. Okay, our actual second option is Ship of Destiny. Okay, so the first book in that trilogy would actually be The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. That's not happening. Spoiler alert, I can tell you that right now. Our third option, who are you? Eclipse from the Twilight series, which I have already read. Into the urn it goes. Okay, so we actually have to pick one more. All right, you were attached to the top. You wanted to come out. Let's see who you are. The Witch's Heart. Okay, weird options. One second. Okay, so my 3 options for this first book are either The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu, Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, which is the first book in the series that Ship of Destiny came from, and The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. I can tell you right now, Ship of Magic is not happening. I have very specific reading plans for Robin Hobb. So my options are The Kingdom of Back or The Witch's Heart. I'm gonna go with The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. I do really want to do my best to DNF books, which I'm still not used to. I'm not good at it. I never DNF books. I just started in the last round of Read It or Unhaul It when I DNF'd and got rid of a whole bunch of romance books. And I think my best chance at DNFing and unhauling is in fact with a YA book. Cause I'm years old. I'm not a YA girl anymore. So, thank you for your service. You can go back home. So officially, my first book of this video will be The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. Born with a gift for music, Nannerl Mozart just has one wish, to be remembered forever. She is a young woman in 18th century Europe, and that means composing is forbidden to her. As Nannerl's hope grows dimmer with each passing year, the talents of her beloved younger brother Wolfgang only seem to shine bright. Right, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, that makes sense. Only seem to shine brighter. His brilliance begins to eclipse her own until one day a mysterious stranger from a magical land appears with an irresistible offer. He has the power to make her wish come true, but his help may cost her everything. I'm gonna go edit a video and then start this f***ing book. Hi, I don't have a lot of time and I don't have my tripod down here, so we're just on the desk for right now. I'm going away for the night, and so I need to pull another book right now because, spoiler alert, I'm actually going to be unhauling The Kingdom of Back. But I need to pull a book really fast because I'm leaving my house in 5 minutes and I need to know what to bring with me to try next. So, I'll tell you more about The Kingdom of Back when I get back from this little overnight trip thing, but until then, let's pull the next book. Oh my god, this is so precarious. If it's not focusing that well right now, it's because we're on a fucking desk. So, oh wait, hold on. Is that better? That's better. Okay. Okay, we're doing this fast. Give me one. It's a book from Gregor the Overlander, the only middle grade series that I own. I've already read that. So what's the next one? Come on, just give me a book. Give me a book to read. The Toll. Oh, The Toll. Hold on. This is actually really exciting. So The Toll is the third book in a series. So I will be reading Scythe next. This is actually perfect. I've been wanting to read the series for so long, and I just haven't gotten to it because it's a 4-book series, and who has time to read a 4-book series right now? This is fucking exciting. Also, I just did my live show with Kayla, Gavin, and Jordaline, and I blacked the out. But if you want to go watch that back, go to Kayla's channel at Books and Lala. I'm gonna have to rewatch it back to know anything that I said at all. So I'll see you there. Okay, bye. Okay, I'm back from my one night overnight, having read absolutely none of this because I realized that I'm, Murphy? I realized that I am a big fucking idiot. When I bought the Scythe books, for some reason I had them under fantasy. They're not fantasy. These are all sci-fi books. And so they should be in the sci-fi shelf. So it would not be fair of me to read these for a fantasy vlog. So I'm like 3 days into this video at this point and I have read nothing because I DNF'd The Kingdom of Back, which I still owe you an explanation for. And then I brought one of these books, a sci-fi book, to an overnight. Found out it was a sci-fi and then I stopped reading it. So I have to move these to my sci-fi shelf, rearrange them in my Notion, put them into here as sci-fi slips instead. But first, I need to pick another slip so that I actually have a book to read in this video. I drove 3.5 hours yesterday there, 3.5 hours today back, just to realize I didn't have a book to read there. I was very sad last night. So let's see what book I'm actually going to read for the start of this video. My God. Okay, please give me a good one. After all this, please give me something good. You are closest. Is this gonna be something I've already read? Vengeful? What is Vengeful? Oh. So Vengeful is technically the second book in this duology by V.E. Schwab. The first book is Vicious. So I was going from one beloved series to another beloved duology. So I guess the first book I'm actually reading in this video is Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which is kind of perfect timing because isn't the third book in this series coming out later this year? Hasn't everyone been waiting for like years and years and the third is finally coming out? So I'm getting caught up at just the right moment. So my real first book for this video is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I'm gonna go and do some reorganizing for this, and I will update you when I'm a little bit into this book. I'll tell you about the Kingdom of Back, and then I'll tell you about the first part of Vicious. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry, this has been such a fucking mess. Mwah. Okay, I'm here first to give you the Kingdom of Back details I promised you, but there's not really a whole lot to tell. It's kind of like a Hamnet type book where we know so much about one very specific famous person, and then we're given a book about a person that is peripheral to that famous person. It's about Mozart's sister Nannerl. It's spelled like this, I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but it's about Nannerl, who is just as talented as her brother. Why do I look so green? Is that better? Now I look blue. Okay, whatever. Nannerl is just as talented as her brother, but she isn't afforded the same opportunities because she is just a girl, and so she's expected to go off and get married and make babies. She says she's telling us the side of the story that we've never heard. Set in a dream of fog and stars, fairy princelings and queens of the night. It's about the Kingdom of Back and the girl who found it. So essentially it's a fairy tale portal fantasy type of story. I assume these kids are going to go through some kind of portal and get to the Kingdom of Back. And that's clearly probably why I bought this book in the first place. I read up until page 33, right when we've just met who I assume is going to be a Peter Pan type of figure. So I got there when I decided to stop, to DNF, and unhaul this book. And it is, in fact, because this is very clearly YA. And I don't mean that in a negative way. The writing is beautiful. The setting is gorgeous. I understand this being a very beloved book. Plus there's the portal fantasy aspect, which is so deeply my shit. But I'm just too old. I'm too old now. It takes something really specific for me to get into wanting to read a book about children for children from the POV of children. And by children, I mean like anyone under the age of 18. I wish that wasn't the case because this is a really beautiful book. The cover's gorgeous. I hate a sprayed edge, but this silver is so simple. And it's signed. Oh, it's a signed first edition that was printed exclusively for Owl Crate. Yeah, it's signed. So it would have been really nice if I had been more into this book, but unfortunately for me, that's not the case. Fortunately for someone else, because I need to make sure that this gets into the right hands with someone who's going to cherish it very much. But with that, we can toss the Kingdom of Back slip into the urn. And I'm gonna figure out my lighting and then I'm gonna talk to you about Vicious. Just kidding, I'm not gonna figure out my lighting. This is just what we have to deal with for the time being, but whatever. The first half of Vicious, because yes, I'm pretty much exactly halfway through and I started this today. Do you have any idea how good that feels after a medically induced 2-month book slump? I am flying through this. Although it freaked me out at first, but my friend Allie loves this series, and when I told her that I was going to be reading it after the whole Scythe is sci-fi debacle, she texted me this. She said, "Vicious? That's sci-fi, mama." By that point, I had already started the book, so I freaked out a little bit and I went to Instagram to poll the people. And it turns out that I'm in the clear, but that is still a high percentage of people who call this sci-fi. And I think I agree with them so far. I'm halfway through and I can comfortably say that if this was a movie, superheroes, special powers, science experiments, I would be calling that a sci-fi movie. But the people have spoken and we are too far into the book to turn back now, so for all intents and purposes for this video, this is a fantasy. So Vicious is technically about 2 young men at a prestigious university who each wants to have the best science experiment for their thesis. But what it's actually about is 2 straight up sociopaths who traumatize their body so much that they become self-enabled supervillains. One of them seems to be like a Reiki practitioner and the other one is deep in religious psychosis, and they're totally not gay and totally don't have crushes on each other. And by the way, when I say that Eli and Victor are sociopaths, I don't say that flippantly. I mean that each of them actually checks off every box for the DSM definition of a sociopath. Lack of empathy, impulsive behavior, attempting to control others with threats or aggression, using intelligence, charm, or charisma to manipulate others, not learning from mistakes, lying for personal gain, committing crimes without remorse. Every single one is checked. The book opens on page 0 with a quote about how life is not actually good versus bad, it's bad versus worse, and I have to f***ing agree. The whole first 150 pages, I was swinging back and forth about which of the 2 main characters I was rooting for, and every time I thought I had it dialed, that one would turn around and do or say some even more insane shit. And that all made much more sense when I remembered that the title of this series is literally Villains. There are no good guys. There's no hero versus villain. They're both bad people. This isn't morally gray. They're bad men. They're supervillains. And I mean supervillains literally. The whole book is about Victor and Eli trying to prove the existence of and then trying to figure out how to become EOs, which are extraordinaries, which in this universe means basically you are a super-powered person. Even though I hadn't read the book yet, I have seen the discourse throughout the years about whether or not these guys are actually in the closet and in love with each other, and I've gathered evidence. On page 50, Victor can't stop thinking to himself about how, well, now I have Eli's attention. I like having Eli's attention. And then a few pages later, Victor loved seeing Eli rattled, running his fingers through his hair. And then when Victor gets his superpowers, he looks in the mirror. He doesn't fully recognize himself. He sees that he has a new smile, and he says he rather liked that smile. It looked like something Eli would wear. So this man likes his new smile because it looks like a smile the other boy would have. So at this point, I'm voting gay. I'm voting yes. I'm voting yes, gay. Who knows what's gonna happen in the rest of the book, or in the second book, or in the third book coming out in the fall. But as of 185 pages in, I'm saying yes. Why not? I assume that Victor's name comes from Victor Frankenstein because he's both the doctor and his own monster. But I'm still wondering if there's an authorial backstory to Eli's name. If it's a different literary figure that I don't know, or a scientific figure I don't know, or what. I don't want to Google it in case I accidentally spoil the rest of the book for myself. But if anyone knows, if anyone happens to know why Eli is named Eli, please let me know. What else? Oh, we also have a little found family coming together. Victor has a sidekick named Mitch, who he met in a location I will not disclose to you. And then together they find an injured little girl on the side of the road named Sydney. And she plays into the storyline big time in a way that I also will not disclose to you. And I was wary about two grown men picking up a young girl on the side of the road, but Victor immediately cracked like the dad joke of all dad jokes. So I think that he's gonna wind up being like a father figure to this girl. The little girl also has an older sister named Serena, and unfortunately I cannot think of her as anyone other than Serena Vanderwoodsen. So in the movie playing in my head throughout this whole book, it's Serena Vanderwoodsen taking all these actions. So I can't take her totally seriously. Oh, there's also a dog, and that rounds out our perfect upcoming found family. By the way, if this counts as dark academia, this is my first dark academia ever. I didn't really think that that would be for me, and I'm still not sure that's for me. I don't think that I'm liking this book because of the school setting. I think I'm liking it despite the school setting. So I guess we'll have to wait for me to read, like, I don't know, The Secret History or Ninth House or something to actually see if I like dark academia type of shit. That is it for the first half of the book. So I'll see you when probably when I've finished the rest of the book. Okay, bye. Okay, I'm gonna get the important part out of the way first, and that is that I no longer think that Victor and Eli should kiss. I get where some of you are coming from, but there are certain things that you cannot come back from. Even though I have gathered more evidence in the back half of the book. Things that include Victor saying, if he concentrated, he could almost imagine Eli tensing at the sound of his voice. And also Victor and Eli pinky promising that they'll remember each other. You remember me and I'll remember you, and that way we won't be forgotten. Evidence. Although I do wonder if V.E. Schwab is going to go more into the homoerotic overtones in book 3, but I guess I still have to get through book 2 first. But the other important part is that I read this in under a day. Less than a fucking day. Fuck that book slump. Overall, I had a really fun time. It was obviously really easy to fly through. Although I will say, everything said and done, I care more about the side characters than about Victor and Eli. Mitch, Sydney, and Dole, who's the dog, I don't think I actually mentioned his name before, that's who I'm rooting for. I really don't want to say anything else about the back half of this book because that's where spoilers live. But I am giving Vicious 4 stars, and I hope that I can figure out how to squeeze Vengeful in at some point before book 3 comes out. So that being said, let's go figure out what book I'm reading next. So far, I have one DNF, one fake start that was actually a sci-fi, and one fantasy, but also kind of sci-fi that was a success. So I wonder what we're gonna get next. Let's see. Let's not have a glare on there. You're closest to me in purple. It's gonna be another one that I've already read. What does that say? Definitely not one I've already read. The Bridge Kingdom. Where are you? Who is The Bridge Kingdom by? Jensen. The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. We are starting a lot of series in this vlog, I guess. I don't even know what you're about. Oh wait, first, we're taking the last slip that was technically for Vengeful, but we're using it for Vicious. We're taking that, and it's going into the urn. A warrior princess trained in isolation, Lara is driven by two certainties. The first is that King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. The only route through a storm-ravaged world, the Bridge Kingdom of Ithacana enriches itself and deprives its rivals, including Lara's homeland. So when she's sent there as a bride under the guise of peace, Lara is prepared to do whatever it takes to fracture its impenetrable defenses and the defenses of its king. Lara begins to question whether she's the hero or the villain. Villains. Lara must choose which kingdom she'll save and which she'll destroy. Got it. We are sitting at 430 pages. Is this YA? I hope this is not YA. This is not YA. Thank God. If it was another YA, I might have wound up DNFing something else though. But anyway, I will start the Bringe Kingdom. I will start the Bridge Kingdom tonight, and I'll let you know tomorrow how I'm feeling. Mwah. Hey, I got in the shower before I realized that I still had to film this clip, so I tried to maintain my makeup and just get my hair wet, so you're gonna have to deal with it. No, this looks stupid. No, this looks stupid. Hold on. Is this gonna be better? No, this is not better. This is what we're working with right now. So just ignore my hair while I tell you about the first, like, 95 pages of the Bridge Kingdom. So I have some predictions, first and foremost. Actually, no, first and foremost, I guess, is the setup. We're in a world where there are basically two huge land masses connected by a bridge. So think about like a North America, South America, and then pretend that Central America is just like a bridge, like a toll bridge, the Golden Gate, an actual bridge. And this bridge is the only safe way for the two land masses to travel between one another, to sell and buy and barter with goods. And there are two kingdoms that we've met to the north of the bridge, Amarid and oh god, Arendel's in Frozen. Harendel. Amarid and Harendel are north of the bridge, and Meridrina and Valcata, I believe, are south of the bridge. And the bridge is a kingdom itself. It's the Bridge Kingdom, also known as Ithacana. So our main girl, Lara, up here, Lara is a Meridrinian princess who is raised basically in this luxury prison in the middle of a desert in an oasis, where her evil king father has evil teachers and masters teach her and her 11 sisters to grow up to be very evil. But they don't think it's evil, they think it's for a good cause. He's basically like, hey, out of you 12 daughters, one of you is gonna grow up to be the most ruthless and the most vicious, and you're gonna grow up and marry the king of the Bridge Kingdom so that we can spy on them, so we can overthrow them, and so that we can be in charge of all the realms. Because whoever rules this Bridge Kingdom basically rules over the whole realm. They have a lot of control. So these 12 girls learn how to fight, they learn how to kill people, they learn how to seduce men. All of this to fulfill Father Palpatine's evil plans. That's basically who their father is in my mind. He's the king of Meridrina, but he's fucking Palpatine. And like I said, they don't think that they are doing evil because Father Dearest has been propagandizing them this entire time and making it seem like the Bridge Kingdom is evil and the Bridge Kingdom's king is a demon. I don't know if they mean that. I don't think they mean it literally. And herein lies my first issue, which is that it's so stunningly obvious that this man should not be trusted. And I need you to trust me when I say that me telling you that their father is evil is not a spoiler. Because unless you just learned to read like last week, and you've never watched a movie before, and you've never been told a fairy tale before, it's very explicitly shown to us, even in the first chapter. Basically, the very first thing that we are told is that this is an evil man. Like, straight up, he has zero traits except being comically evil. He's a caricature of a person. So he keeps all 12 of his daughters in this prison. He's never met a single one of them until they're like 20 years old. And then when he finally comes to make his decision on who is both the most evil and the hottest daughter, he straight up tells them out loud that Meridrinian women are not good for anything except for keeping house and making babies. And his whole plan was to choose his sexiest, evilest daughter and then murder the rest of his daughters. That was the plan from the get-go. Which again, that's not a spoiler. We get this big exposition dump on like page 3. So that's known to us. But like I said, there's no hiding the fact that this man is evil. It is so fucking obvious. Maybe her excuse is that she grew up in a fucking oasis in the desert and she only has ever known like 20 people. Maybe, perhaps, but she still seems to understand common sense and she seems to understand like the ways of the world even though she has never been in the world. So Lara is supposed to be this brilliant, observant, secret agent warrior princess, and she knows all these facts. She knows that her father does not give a fuck about her or her sisters. She knows he was gonna murder everyone, and yet she takes everything that he is saying at face value and doesn't even seem to question whether he might not be the most honest guy. And by page like 25, we've met the king that she's forced to marry for the good of the realm, and he's so hot and he's so big and he's so romantic and he has abs and he lets the women in his kingdom be warriors. And again, unless this is the very first story you're ever hearing in in your entire life, it is super duper obvious that we're gonna wind up with the evil king being really evil, and the hot young king with kind eyes is gonna be good and sexy. However, I am stoked about one thing, which is the setting of the book. The whole kingdom of Ithaca, which is the Bridge Kingdom, it's all in the jungle. It's made up of a series of islands that surround the bridge that's just jungle and greenery. There are monkeys everywhere, there are snakes everywhere, and it feels like jungle setting is the one thing that fantasy books are missing for me, actually. I'm not much one for an urban setting, especially in fantasy. The more wilderness, the better for me. So this kind of biome is really scratching an itch. Also, there are sharks. There are tons of sharks in the water circling the islands. And I just realized I don't get enough sharks in books. Oh no, my camera's, oh no, the battery's dying. What else do I have to say? My final note I'm gonna bring up is that so far there hasn't been any magic, and I'm so used to fantasy books having magic in them. I'm so used to there being like a magic system or like unearthly creatures. But the only fantastical things in here so far is that we're not on Earth, and that there are, you know, kings and princesses and knights and and I definitely assumed that there would be magic, just because that's what I'm used to. But there's not, at least not so far, in the first 100 pages. All this to say, I'm not having a good time. I'm enjoying myself, I'm entertained. This is a popular on the internet mid-level romantasy series, so I'm not going into this expecting greatness or like mind-blowing writing. I am simply here to have a good time, and so far I'm having a good time. Okay, battery is dying. Goodbye. Mwah. Hi guys, I'm gonna talk to you about the middle part of the Bridge Kingdom out on my deck. I hope that the bird noise isn't too loud for you. Hey, sorry, my neighbor came out and I got camera shy. What was I saying? Hopefully the birds aren't too loud. Hopefully the fire's not too loud. I turned the fire on for ambiance because I was gonna have you pointing that way to see all the pretty trees, but lighting is better this way. So here's my deck. Here's my beautiful fire pit. Let's talk about the middle section of the Bridge Kingdom. Why am I suddenly paranoid that all of my neighbors can hear me talking? Whatever, I'm just gonna do it. I'm now on page 272. I made it to chapter 26, which is a little bit more than halfway through the book. And I wanna say, first and foremost, that I am nosy. I'm a nosy bitch. I like to know details. And there are a few things happening in here that don't give me enough details and don't allow me to be nosy. So on that thread, we're gonna talk about codes, world building, and lust. You know what? The fire might be too loud. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this off. It's good for ambiance, but maybe not good for sound. So, firstly, codes. There's a code system going on. In order for Lara's evil father's henchmen to get messages to her without the Ithacanians knowing. I think the squirrels are throwing pine cones at us. Anyway, code system. They're sending coded messages to... Hello? They're sending coded messages to Lara. And when something like that happens in a book, I want to be part of it. I want to be part of the code making or the code breaking, or at the very least the insights into how they are breaking the codes. That's so nice. Are you so comfy? And maybe this is just a me thing, but I don't want to see Lara receiving a letter that says, "Hi darling, hope you're having a fun time with your new husband. It's super tight that trade routes are open now." And then just have Lara go, "But I read past what the word said, and I figured out the code, and I know that the real message said, 'You idiot, enact our plan faster, kill the king, kill everyone so we can take over the world.'" This means nothing. I want to know how the codes work. I want to know how she took, "Hi honey, how are you doing?" and morphed that into, "Go faster, we want to take over the Bridge Kingdom and kill everyone." How did you get from point A to point B? I want to know how the codes work at least peripherally. I want to know if it's alphanumeric. I want to know if it's a matter of replacing letters. I want to know if there's Morse code hidden somewhere in there. I want to know anything more than absolutely nothing. It's the same way I feel a lot of the time about songs or poems in books. Murphy. She wants to be in the sun. I'm just gonna keep twisting so that you can see her, because that's the most important part here. Anyway, it's the same way that I feel about poems or songs in books. If you're gonna tell me that our hero overhears a song at a war camp that inspires them, I want to know the song. I want the author to put in the work and write down the lyrics so that I feel as immersed as I should be. So that was code. Next is world building. We have a really pretty full color topographical map at the start of the book, and that's all fine and well, but I have a great imagination, and when I'm reading, I can see a movie playing in my head the whole time. And this movie so far has just been basically outlines and storyboarding. I can't envision the world very well past the fact that we are in a jungle, aside from a few very specific scenes. I can't imagine the construct of the bridge or most of the buildings, and what we are told doesn't even fully line up with the map all the time. Even the king's pet cat. I can't picture his pet cat in my mind. I know this cat's name is Vitex. I know he's huge. He's like the size of a large dog, but I can't picture him. We were told nothing. We weren't even told what color he is. So hopefully this is just first book syndrome, and in the next one she actually gives us better descriptions of things. I mean, we're in a jungle. I want lush descriptions of jungle. And third is the lust. Typically people come to romantasy and they want yearning. They want lusty glances exchanged. They want sordid details about the characters' freaky inner thoughts about each other. And I'm just not getting that, and I don't mean in a slow burn kind of way. I mean that by page 200, we still basically had not been shown any thoughts from either of them other than, oh, he says he's good, but he must be lying. And she's clearly just an inept princess who's not good for anything and not good in battle. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, with no buildup, he's staring at her while she's nips out in a safe house, telling us there's nothing God could give me that would be more perfect than her. And then she's telling us, well, yeah, obviously I want to kiss him, and obviously I've been having thoughts about him taking my clothes off. Like, no, that's not obvious. Girl, we've been inside your head. If you'd been having these kind of thoughts, we should have heard about them. It's not insta-love or insta-lust per se, but it was a whole lot of nothing, and then just suddenly they're all only about each other. I just want more buildup. I want more than just the one token who did this to you scene. Anyway, there is plenty of stuff that I do appreciate, not the least of which being that our warriors go ziplining. Ooh, oh no, the lighting. Oh no, the lighting. Should I be backlit? Oh no, the sun's coming through. I need to do the rest of this quickly. Okay, they go ziplining. Not for fun. It's like part of their military stuff is they zipline through the jungles. And I think that that's just great. This book now has jungles, sharks, and ziplining. All of which I need more description of in book 2. We're also at the point of the story where Lara is ingratiating herself with the citizens of Ithacana. And she has the classic sudden romantasy realization that innocent civilians of other kingdoms are in fact just real people, and they also deserve to live. And they deserve to live just as much as the innocent citizens of her own home country, kingdom, whatever. And shit like this is one of the reasons that A, reading is political, and B, reading fiction helps shape and grow empathy in the people reading fiction. Because the real moral of this story is going to wind up being that for the most part, citizens everywhere are just innocent civilians trying to thrive and survive and care for their families and eat and be safe and put food on their tables, and that shitty leaders and shitty government systems are the real bad guys. And most people don't want war except for these shitty leaders, because the casualties are always going to be those innocent civilians. And if you grow up reading fictional material with morals like that, that seed is able to be planted in you early on, and you have more of an ability growing up to bring that lesson into life with you and apply it to real world situations. And then you're able to grow up, white people, I'm talking to you right now, you're able to grow up and not be afraid of the Muslim family that lives in the apartment next to you. And you can grow up understanding why it's important to take action and do something when black people are being dropped by cops in the street, or when immigrant families are being rounded up and held in cages. And more of that is what we need, obviously. So although this book has been a little bit predictable and a little bit basic, the moral at the base of the story is something that we very much need to be digging into more more people's brains. And I know that I complained that Lara is doing what her father says when he's like so clearly a villain, but honestly I can't even fault the book for not being realistic in that, because for years now, years and years, we've been seeing people in real life following world leaders who are also satirical level caricatures of evil. So that's it. That's it. Those are the points that I wanted to touch on. I'm done with my little rant. I'm gonna now move through the last 160-ish pages of the book, and I will see you when I'm done. So we're done, and we carried on with my least favorite book trope, which is obviously miscommunication or like lack of communication in general. Also, everything I predicted on page like 2 came to fruition, but I got more into it in the back half of the book, and how this book ends means that in book 2 we can finally move past the really annoying keeping secrets. However, in book 2, I'm going to need characterizations to step up a notch. Aaron, actually, I don't even think I've ever said his name to you guys. The hot young king, his name is Aaron. Aaron has absolutely no traits, no personality traits, except for he's a very good boy and he's in love with Lara, which makes him a lovable character, but not a very interesting character and not multifaceted at all. Lara at one point said something like, "Oh, I can't imagine my life without him." Like, girl, he's a cardboard cutout of a handsome guy. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't imagine your life without him? He is a cardboard cut out of a man at this point. Hopefully he gets more character depth to him in the second book. Lara's father, the evil king, has no traits except evil, which also means he's not very interesting and definitely not multifaceted. He's very single-faceted. Lara herself has been at this point like half evil, half good, which makes her mildly more interesting and means she has at least 2 facets. Actually, maybe she might have 3 facets because she's also very annoying and she's like purposefully obtuse about very obvious shit. However, I always wind up getting connected to fantasy stories, no matter how nonsensical or dull they are. And I don't read romance books or domestic thrillers, which is usually what I see people calling palate cleansers. So these 3.5-star romances, these are what I consider my palate cleansers. This is a nice, fun palate cleanser to me. And yeah, I'm giving it 3.5 stars. But as you might know, I really love mid-movies, and this is kind of like my book version of that. I should not actually say that I always get connected to fantasy stories, no matter how nonsensical or boring they are, because... Where are you? Oh, this one broke that for me. This is an example of a bad fantasy book. One that did not capture me, didn't bring me in, I don't feel connected, I don't give a f***. I still have Reckless, so I still feel like I should be forced to read it at some point because I bought it. But to me, that whole world is stupid and I hate it. Bridge Kingdom, I'd be very happy to keep going forward in. I know that there are the 6th book is coming out. Did it come out today? The 6th book might have come out today, April 14th. And I think it's 3 sets of duologies, each following someone else. So like book 2 will follow Lara and Aaron, 3 and 4 will follow someone, 5 and 6 will follow someone. I'd be very happy to move on in this series. But for now, 3.5 stars, and let's get to choosing our next book. I'm gonna hold it up for you so you can see it. Who are we getting? This might be the last book, depending on how long the book I pull right now is. If it's short, I think I can fit another one after this. But this might be our last one for Fantasy Read It or Unhaul It. What's closest to me? You are. Is this gonna be upside down again? Throne of the Fallen. Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco is the next one that I chose. And seeing as how this book is over 500 almost 600 pages, yeah, I'm gonna say that this is probably the last book that I will be reading in this video. And what, my dear friend, are you about? Sinner, villain, wicked. The Prince of Envy has never claimed to be a saint, but when a cryptic note arrives signaling the beginning of a deadly game, he knows it will take more than a hint of sin to win and save his falling demon court. None of his meticulous plans prepare him for her, the frustrating artist artist who ignites his sin like no other. Virtuous, darling, liar. The trouble with scoundrels and blackguards is that they haven't a modicum of honor, a fact Miss Camilla Antonius learns after one desperate mistake allows Waverly Green's most notorious rake to blackmail her. Camilla is forced to enter a devil's bargain with Envy. Together, Envy and Camilla must embark on a perilous journey through the underworld while trying to avoid the most dangerous trap of all, falling in love. Wow, okay, one romantasy after another. Got it. I did not realize that this video was just going to be me starting fantasy series. By the end of this, I'll be in the middle of 3 more series. Hello, I am here to give you a quick update. I don't have my tripod with me. It's upstairs and I'm too lazy to walk up a single flight of stairs. So I'm balancing you on some books right now. Hopefully this is fine. I am 98 or 99 pages of the way through Throne of the Fallen at this point, and I am not loving it. There's been a lot going on this week, so I was not opposed to another typical romantasy palette cleanser, but this is just not hitting the same way as Bridge Kingdom was able to. This book seems like if someone on AO3 wrote an ACOTAR Bridgerton crossover. Batboy Bridgerton fanfic is really what this is feeling like, and I don't mean that in a good way. So one of our main characters is Camilla, and she is not like other girls. She's a painter and she owns an art gallery, and she's not married, and she doesn't want to be, even though she's already 28, which makes her an old hag. And she thinks about sex, which is very improper, even though she's basically a virgin, although she herself in a carriage after talking to a hot guy one single time. And then we have Prince Envy, one of the 7 princes of hell. He's broody and moody, and he pretends to the outside world that he's just a hard dude with a hard who doesn't care about anything, but I know that really he's gonna be a soft dude with a hard dick who cares about his people and would do anything to keep them safe, and who's gonna fall in love with the woman and would do anything for her, and blah 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 blah. I'm less than 100 pages in and I know the entire plot of the book. I know that I know it. He and his brothers, the other 6 princes of hell, they just seem like a bunch of frat boys. You cannot convince me that these are 7 demon men who have been alive for thousands of years. They all act and speak like every 22-year-old who's ever hit on me at a day club. You would assume that after thousands of years someone would gain wisdom, but Prince Envy is one of the most emotionally stunted people I've ever seen in my entire life. Although actually, I was put off before the book ever even started, and some of you are gonna accuse me of nitpicking, but guess what? I don't care. The dedication says, for those who can't help falling for the villain and love a sinfully wicked fairy tale, this one is for you. Sinfully wicked is redundant, first of all. You don't need both those words. It is not good writing, and it makes it seem like the rest of the book is going to be equally cheesy in its form. It makes me nervous for the sex scenes that I haven't gotten to yet. However, now that I'm aware of that, I am going to go into the rest of the book with much different expectations. I'm used to romantasy that has a lot more fantasy than romance. The romance is a subplot kind of a thing. This seems like it's going to be more of, what's the classification? Smut romantasy? Smutty romantasy? Is there a different word for it? Whatever it is, the emphasis is clearly going to be on the sex rather than the romance, and rather than the the plot or the fantasy of it. And so far, that's not my vibe. So maybe I'm gonna have to rethink some of the things that are on my bookshelves. So the plot. Basically, Camilla and Envy are gonna wind up playing this fairy scavenger hunt game where if you lose, you probably die, and if you win, I don't know, I haven't gotten that far yet. I think everyone wins their own specific prize that means a lot to them, but I don't know what either of their prizes is yet. I know vaguely that Envy would win something that helps him save his court, his personal circle of hell, because it's apparently in some sort of big trouble that he won't openly communicate with anyone about, because if he had healthy communication skills, we wouldn't have a book. And aside from the scavenger hunt, Camilla has to deal with this dude in her neighborhood who throws these fun, depraved parties, but also seemingly tries to assault her every time he sees her. So he's definitely going to die at some point, but a big part of the plot so far has been this man, Vexley, who keeps finding his way to her, blackmailing her, trying to get her to sleep with him or marry him or something. So Vexley's gonna die for sure. Not a spoiler, just a guess based on everything I know about books. And I'm not going to tell you specifics here, but I had already guessed what I assume will be an important plot twist by like page 22. I know it's coming. I know it's gonna happen. There's no way this isn't the thing that we're gonna find out on like page 500. It has to do with Camilla, if that's a good enough clue for any of you who've read the book. So that's all I have for you so far. I flew down to LA this past weekend. It was just for a few nights, but I was too busy with family stuff to read more than these 100-ish pages. But also because I felt no urgency to return to this book. Even though there is urgency to finish the book because I need to finish this video so I can start my next video. So I'll see you when I finish the next chunk of the book. Cross your fingers for me. Okay, so the good news is that I've read like 230 more pages, and the bad news is that it's taken me like 5 entire days to do so. I know this is a Read It or Unhaul It video, but I'm actually refusing to DNF this book because A, it's the final book in the video and that would be no fun, and B, I own the second book. So I'm gonna try for the life of me to enjoy this book enough to read the second book. And I don't wanna hear anyone in the comments saying it's okay to DNF a book, you don't have to push yourself. If you're not having fun, just stop. Trust me, I know. This is fun for me. What could be more fun than occasionally torturing yourself? Sometimes a girl just needs to complain about a book for a week. I'm still dealing with the cheesiness of some of the writing. Typically it's pretty fine, but then you'll have a paragraph like, if Camilla was sunshine, he was the darkest of nights. And if she wasn't careful, his shadows would snuff out her light, if only for the fleeting chance to possess her warmth before destroying it. Like, what are we talking about? What are we doing here? I do have more proof of the plot twist that I saw coming from like page 20. And at this point, it's so obvious that I can't imagine it's actually supposed to be a plot twist for the audience. I think it's just Envy who's gonna be surprised at the end. So a lot has happened, but also kind of like nothing at all. They're moving their way through the fairy scavenger hunt. We've seen more of Camilla's talent for painting, which apparently is going to be part of a bigger plot of the book. We figured out why Envy wants to win the scavenger hunt so badly. We got our first sex scene, and we met more vampires, and it turns out just all vampires are just big old sluts. And I mean that complimentary. Speaking of complimentary, I do have 3 compliments to give to the book. 1, knowing why Envy wants to win so badly gives the book some much needed weight. The details of it don't fully make sense to me, but it's a very serious problem and it adds a lot of gravity to Envy's character, and he really needed that. Second, when I was reading The Bridge Kingdom and I was complaining about how we weren't part of the code breaking and how frustrating and plot convenient that was, but part of this scavenger hunt is code breaking, and we are present for entire scenes of them trying to break down the code and figure out the clues, and I appreciate that a lot. Third, Camilla is pretty badass for a Regency female character. She's not simpering and meek, she's scared and she's vulnerable, but she carves her own path for herself and she stands up for herself. She doesn't let any man in the book tell her shit. Doesn't let anyone tell her what to do. She holds her own in all the tasks presented to her. I just wish that she could pass a Bechdel test. So we meet the vampire court, and like I said, it is a slutty, slutty place. Vampires and humans are f***ing on the dinner table. People are blowing each other in the hallways in public. I'm saying sentences out loud I never have said before and I never thought I would say. Camilla also at one point calls the vampires those twilight creatures. And obviously she's talking about like dusk and nighttime, but I felt like that Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV meme. And speaking of all of that, I can't not talk about the sex scene. I cannot take all of the super cheesy, super calculated dirty talk. I can't take it seriously. I just can't. YouTube, please don't me up for this. I'm not actually saying anything sexual. This is all for educational purposes. Look, this is a book. This is for educational purposes. You'll be shouting my name, Camilla. I will be your god, your creator, your destroyer, and every depraved, dark thing in between. And I promise you'll find religion on my cock. You'll get on your knees for it, pray for it, worship it with every fiber of your being. It's just so cringe. It's just so cringy. I can't take it seriously. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if a dude said to me, I'll be your creator, your destroyer, and every dark, depraved thing? I would laugh that man out of my house. Also, there's some kind of massage oil that he uses on her that smells like vanilla and bourbon. And I want to put a PSA out there. Unless it's a product specifically made for sexual purposes, anything that smells like vanilla and bourbon will give you a yeast infection, and I'm begging you not to put it anywhere down there. You will be very unhappy a few days later. Thank you for your time. I think that that's all I had to oh wait, no. Camilla has to figure out which sin she would belong to. When she first goes into this underworld place, she goes through this corridor that's supposed to tell her what sin, like what house she'd be a part of, envy, sloth, and whatever. So obviously I had to figure out what house I would belong to. So I took a quiz and it turns out I would be in House Envy. So I guess this book is actually about me. Okay, that's all. I'm gonna try and get myself to barrel through the last 200 pages. Wish me luck. Okay, I did in fact barrel through the last 200 pages over the past 36 hours, and I'm letting you know right now that I need to do a spoiler section because some things are just too much for me to keep inside. So after I give you the rundown, I'm gonna give you a spoiler section, so be wary of that if you still want to read this or if you just want to skip that part for any reason, be aware. Basically, the last section of the book is Camilla and Envy dealing with the end of the fairy scavenger hunt, and then dealing with what comes after that. And I was in fact correct about that plot twist that I guessed at the very beginning of the book, but again, it was so obvious, I don't think it was supposed to be a plot twist for us, just for the other characters in the book, namely Envy. And speaking of, Envy continues to confound me. He's thousands of years old, but he has the emotional intelligence of a fucking 9-year-old. You don't have to be a dick all the time just because you're afraid of your own feelings. Also, everyone sounds like a fucking virgin in this book. There's nothing wrong with being a virgin, but so many people, demons, vampires, characters who are supposed to be fucking large swaths of people talk about sex the way that Steve Carell does in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like they've never seen or touched a naked person before, but they're talking like they're pretending like they have. Speaking of, unfortunately, I do have to talk more about the sex scenes because the dirty talk truly is horrendous. First of all, a point against the author, she uses the word apex wrong twice. And maybe I care more about vocabulary than the average person. I was a spelling bee champion, sorry to flex. It's been a while, it was 3rd grade. But it says that he kissed the apex of her body. And it's supposed to mean he's like going downtown, right? But that's not what apex means. Apex is very specifically like a physical positional point in space. It's not used to describe like the most important and sensitive part of the body. It's very specifically a spatial word. If you're standing up, your head is the apex of your body. If you're laying down on your back with like your knees up, like this, your knees, okay, my head's still a little higher. Your knees are now the apex of your body. And she uses it again, like 50 pages later. He's massaging her thighs and his thumbs are getting closer to the apex of her body with every pass. No, they're not. I'm kind of convinced that she was trying to say crux, the crux of your body. I would even accept like nexus, if we're trying to go for words specifically that have an X in it. Those are both words that could be morphed a little bit to mean what she meant, but apex categorically cannot. What else? Oh, where is it? I had to read the sentence. Her body was his favorite canvas. Her gasps were his paint. Her lips were his greatest inspiration. I had to read that sentence with my own 2 eyeballs. Also, if you are kissing someone and you say, I owned her mouth, my brain is going to envision if they're kissing, if you owned her mouth, my brain is going to envision something like this. Like you just swallowing the lower half of her face whole. That's what I'm picturing if you owned her mouth. And I counted, the phrase slick folds was used 3 times, and I don't know how authors haven't figured it out by now that we do not want to hear the phrase slick folds. Sex stuff aside, the main emotional conflict between Envy and Camilla is that they can't possibly be together because essentially neither of them wants to get married. For reasons that I won't say because of spoilers, but I will tell you that those reasons are fucking stupid. Not that not wanting to get married is stupid. Their fucking reasons for it are fucking stupid. If either of them would just have open, honest communication for like 4 seconds, everything would be fixed. You two are locked in jail cells of your own making. The door is wide open. You can walk right out of this self-imposed prison at any time. It's not that serious. Also, I was praising the book for its code-breaking stuff, for including us in the code-breaking process, and I stand by that, but good lord, the final riddle, the most difficult one, was the easiest riddle I've read since ACOTAR. I remember reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and thinking, how did Feyre not get that immediate, like, are you actually stupid? And I felt the same exact way here with Camilla. But it still gets its points for including us in the code breaking process. That's more than the Bridge Kingdom gave us. The last thing I'll say before the spoiler section is that we were so close to getting exactly 69 pages, and I'm so disappointed that we didn't. 71. Wouldn't it have been perfect if we ended on chapter 69? Okay, now thank God I'm going into spoilers so I can complain properly. If you don't want to know spoilers, you can skip to this timestamp, giving you fair warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, where do I fucking start? I'm gonna rewind a little bit. There's a man, a fairy from Camilla's past. He comes back. His name is Wolf. He's the only other person Camilla has ever had sex with. And he shows up and tries to bring Camilla back to the fairy courts because obviously Camilla is the evil fairy king's daughter and the rightful heir to the Unseelie court. That was the plot twist, I guess, in the beginning. So Wolf tries to bring her back and proposes marriage to her in the same breath. And he's like, oh, don't you want to me again because you and I are the only people we can each go fucking buck wild with because fairy sex would injure a mere mortal? And she tells him off, and she said, we fornicated a lifetime ago. That's the beginning and ending of any affection we shared. And yes, I could give in to all my passions in your bed. I could ride you for as long as I liked, as hard as I liked, and know you'd be just as wild and hungry. But that's ancient history now. Can we just be a little bit more realistic? This is not a thing anyone would be saying to this man to make him go away. This is for the audience, and it's awful fucking writing. It's literally just to get the audience a little more horny, and it doesn't work, and it's horrible fucking writing. I'm the opposite of horny. Make it stop, please. And then later, Camilla catches Envy trying to have sex with the goddess of death. Not because he wants to, but because he thinks that's how he gets to the next clue. But his dick wouldn't work because he's in love with Camilla. And he explains that to her, and she reacts like it's endearing. Like it's equivalent to him actually opening up and telling her his feelings. This is basically, this back and forth is how it went. My dick didn't work for her. It didn't work for that lady. And then he grinds his dick on Camilla's leg and it arises immediately. But check this out. Check this out. I can still get a boner for you. And then she's like, oh my God, you can still get a boner for me. And then they all over his throne room. It's like I'm reading about 15-year-olds discovering their bodies for the first time, but they don't have fully developed prefrontal cortexes yet. That's what it feels like. It feels like if a 15-year-old wrote smut. And then, oh, the most frustrating thing of all. Oh my God, I'm gonna leave this over here so you have to stare at it and I don't. The most frustrating thing of all. So the reason that Envy wants to win this scavenger hunt so badly is because there's something wrong with his court. It's plagued by this dementia fog. This mist is spreading through his court and it's taking his citizens' memories and it's making them all like violent and kill each other because they're too confused to properly function. And first of all, he is one of 7 brothers who seem competitive with each other, but it's clear they still love each other. And we're told constantly through the book that Envy couldn't possibly turn to his brothers for help. But why? The brothers give each other shit, but they clearly love each other. Why on earth are we so bad at communication that you're gonna let the majority of your citizens die just because you don't want to ask your very powerful brothers for help? And secondly, even worse, we find out that the reason the dementia fog is rolling in is because his court needs a magic cup so that his citizens can purge their memories every few years, which is the dumbest premise I've ever heard and also is not like properly explained to us. But there's this magic chalice, and Envy used to have a situationship with this mortal, and she wanted to take it out with her on her birthday to take shots out of. She literally wanted to use it to drink out of on her birthday to make her friends jealous. And Envy said yes. First of all, would a nice shiny necklace not make your friends more jealous? Who the f gets jealous of a cup? Also, the idea that Envy said yes to this is insane. It is an object of immense and terrible power that predates even the oldest demons in the realm. And he lends it to a rando to take shots out of, even though it's the only thing keeping his court from certain death. Book characters are allowed to be flawed and make mistakes that they have to come back from, but this just doesn't fucking make sense. It doesn't make sense in terms of realism and what any regular person would do. It definitely doesn't make sense for Envy. Everything that we know about him has shown us that he puts his court above everything else. He cares so much about his court. Him making this decision doesn't make sense in the storyline. Okay, I'm done with the spoiler section. Let me cool down for a second. So to round this book out, I liked Camilla more than Envy, but, and I say this as someone who enjoys reading sex scenes, there's no puritanical bullshit going on here. This is a very sex positive household, but the only thing that either of them ever thinks about is sex and boobs and and wet folds and my cunning little deviant, and I just need more substance to my characters than that. I need more thickness to the plot and less thickness to the penis. More emotional stimulation and less no. I don't need I just need more emotional stimulation to bridge the fucking gap. And by the fucking gap, I mean the gaps in the book between all the fucking. I just need the sexual aspects to make sense at the very least. During the big game scavenger hunt, there's a scene where they have to swim across a body of water, but the water makes you tell the truth. But also if anything man-made enters the water, boom, instant death. And guess what clothes are? Clothes are man-made. So very conveniently, they have to go through this truth water naked. And like I get the parallel of truth water laying them bare emotionally and being naked is being laid bare physically, but like, where's the logic? What's the point? I had given this book 3 stars when I first ended, but I think that was too nice. I have talked myself down to a 2.5. It can't be a 2 because that's where Powerless lives. Honestly, maybe Powerless should have been a 1.5. So that is the end. We are done with our fantasy edition of Read It or Unhaul It, and we have officially read 3 books: Vicious, which I gave 4 stars, The Bridge Kingdom, which I gave 3.5 stars, and Throne of the Fallen, which I gave 2.5 stars. And we unhauled 1 book, The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. I do, like I said, own the sequel to Throne of the Fallen, so I will be giving it a go at some point, but if I'm also not the biggest fan of the second book, then I will be unhauling both of them. So now I guess this falls into the same category as Powerless and In the Veins of the Drowning. By the way, if you're watching this on May 15th, it's my birthday, which means that you are legally required to do something very nice for yourselves. Not for me. Do one very nice thing for yourself today, please. Also, we are putting The Bridge Kingdom and Throne of the Fallen into the urn. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. I love you all. If you can hear me, if you can read the subtitles, I appreciate you. I hope you're having a fantastic May, a fantastic spring. Again, do something fucking nice for yourself. Love you. Bye. Ow. Ow. There's a puppy barking in the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Egg! 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 Psst. Stop it. No. Egg! Leave her alone.